Awesome. Hey guys, welcome to Keeping It 100 with Adrian and Jackie. We are super excited to launch our podcast with you guys. Jackie and I have known each other for a little while in the real gym world. And we just connected again since going online. And we wanted to just share some real talk with you guys, share our journey as online trainers, as women, as people, and just basically connect on real life topics in the now, no BS, keeping it super honest. And yeah, so our first episode, we're going to dive into working from home, the struggles that a lot of people are facing, and then also give a perspective on what it's like as a fitness coach, going from a gym to working behind the camera in our living room.
I am super excited for this. I'm Jackie, and yeah, we are super stoked. I mean, Adrian and I work so well together. So, I mean, it's time for you guys to get to know us a little bit better, listen to our little stories, and every week is going to be so different. And today we're going to be talking the real deal about working from home. We're super stoked, you guys. Hope you guys are ready for this. All right. Okay. Where do we start? Adrian?
Right. Well, do you want to, why don't you start? You can introduce yourself, like just a little background.
Yeah, let's do it. Okay, so again, my name is Jackie. You guys, thank you so much for tuning in and listening to our first new podcast that we're super stoked about. So the way I kind of got into the fitness industry, I dove from working corporate in the oil and gas as a project engineer, and I literally did a 180 degree like pivot from being at a desk job for however many hours a day to now being a fitness motivator and a facilitator and I'm like all the things, right? I own my own company, and I basically run online classes and I offer online services online. Everything is online, and I work from home, and that's what I do. I'm my own boss. I love it. And I'm super excited for Adrian and I to be talking about what it is that we do. All right. All right, girl, take it over.
Yeah, so my name's Adrian, and I have a really similar journey and story to Jackie. In 2017, I left the corporate world. I was working as, I was assisting the financial planner in a wealth management firm. So super corporate, banker, black suits to work kind of style, all the way into fitness and nutrition, and being completely online, working from home. It's been a good journey. It's been really interesting. I took myself through my own weight loss journey, navigating, the mindset aspect of it, and then working through a gym, and now at home on my own, leading the way from the living room. So
Adrian, I have a question for you. So, okay.
Sure.
I know that working corporate, obviously it had its perks. What was your favorite thing about working corporate?
Oh, well, let me tell you what, girlfriend. I used to own some of the most beautiful shoes you would ever see in your life. So working downtown, especially the job I was at where it was quite conservative. And so we did have a dress code in terms of, we'd wear black suit. We were meeting clients all the time. But the one way I found to express myself was through my shoes. They never really regulated that, I think, because, you could sit behind a desk and you were kind of hidden. So I took that to the extreme. I wore 4 or 5 inch stilettos, different patterns, all crazy.
So I love it.
Just having if I tried to put on a pair of pumps at this point, I probably would fall over and hurt myself. But
oh yeah, that's
there's nothing quite like having a power suit on and just a pair of really stunning high heels.
Girl, I hear you on that one. I still love shoes, and even though we don't have anywhere else to go or whatever the case may be, once in a while I find myself buying myself a nice pair just for that rainy day. When one day we are able to go out and actually be meeting people in person, or just for me to admire them on the shelf, whatever the case may be. So I hear you on the shoe thing, girl.
Yeah.
All right.
What is the thing from your corporate days that you loved?
Okay. Again, Shoes, yes. I love fashion, so I actually do miss dressing up, and I still do. Even sometimes, even when I'm at home, even for us to do this, I was like, "This is so nice. I get to do my makeup and look all pretty, and not be able
Awesome.
to workout clothes, right?" But I mean, I definitely miss that. But I also kind of miss, you know, that high life of like, making good change and and
Yeah.
just being downtown. I just miss that sometimes. But on the upside, downside, whatever you want to call it, I love working for myself too. So I
Right.
mean, the fashion behind it, being able to dress up, being able to have like different types of dresses and pants, and all sorts of like that fashionista type of thing. I'd really like
Yeah.
for sure.
I remember like my like switching of my closet every season was like a full weekend task where I had to pull out all of my summer, right? And then you pull out like your fall kind of
Yeah.
like wardrobe. And I really, yeah, I enjoyed that aspect of it, but that was pretty much the only thing.
Yeah. I mean, it also had
Yeah,
its disadvantages, right? I
of
feel like,
course.
yeah, because I mean, I don't know, like for me, there would be days where, it was a very high pressure environment where if you have projects and, people want that stuff now, which is great. But it was a constant pressure with as on that stress. And sometimes that level of stress continuously isn't always ideal. And also
Yeah.
another stress that came with it was the recession. We live in Calgary where unfortunately we've been going through a recession since 2014, 15. So if you're in the oil and gas or even any industry now, that every industry is basically getting affected because it's all a big, what do you call it? A domino effect, right? Everything falls and
It's
whatever
true.
the case may be. But anyway, the stress level of things, definitely don't miss that.
Nope. But that's why we had so many shoes.
Yeah, that's right. We had enough time to actually go shopping and wear them while we sit at our desks.
I always would go to the mall at lunchtime and I was like, okay, I did a really good job this morning, so I deserve this new outfit.
Why not?
Awesome.
Anyway, all right. Well, moving on.
Yeah.
Okay, so Adrian, like out of curiosity, like so when you switched from fitness, I mean, when you switched from corporate to fitness, what went through your mind? I want to hear it all, girl. Like, tell me everything.
You know what's amazing? I actually just told my story this morning in
Yeah.
my group, but I actually kind of almost spaced that the two of these were happening on the same day. So this is perfect because I've been sharing
Yeah.
my story all day, which is
Oh, yay.
fantastic. Because my intention was never to go into fitness. When I left corporate, I left because of a family emergency that required me. I just had to make a change. I couldn't work 70 or 80 hours a week and take care of my son and all that. And so when I left corporate, it was really just to take care of him and my own mental health. The fitness was a result of having more time and feeling better inside. And then I was like, oh, I want to eat better and exercise more. And so it was a result of leaving corporate, but it was not the reason.
Yeah.
And so just the healthier I got, and when I lost the weight and I just started feeling really good, I ended up working at a gym at the front desk because I just wanted to be around fitness all the time.
I
And
love
it wasn't
that.
yeah, I just thought like I just want to be around these people. Like everyone's so happy and they're feeling good and it's such a good energy. And even if people aren't in the greatest mood when they walk into the gym, to be able to I love customer service. I've always been a people person. So to be the person to greet them, welcome them into the facility. And then when people leave, they always feel happy. Like nobody leaves the gym feeling being like, oh man, I wish I didn't do that workout. Like literally nobody.
As much as you think you hate it at that moment, you always feel good about it after.
Always. And so
I agree.
as I was there, I was like, it just kind of happened naturally, which is why it feels so good to do it because I worked in that environment. I met people all the time. And honestly, I had every day it was more and more people. I would give tours of the gym, talk about the personal training. And then they were like, are you a trainer? I really want to work with you. Like, I'll sign up if I can train with you. And it just kind of kept piling up where I was like, I think I have something of value to offer people.
Yeah.
And so I just decided to go for it because I was connecting with people who were connecting with me and I could see ways that I could positively impact their life. And so it just, you know, it kind of was that alignment where I started working more in alignment with my natural self. And as a result, things happened as they should.
It fell into place. It felt natural. It felt like it was something you were destined to do, right?
Yeah, I was like, why would I not do this? Like, everybody wants me to do it and it feels good to be in this position. So
I love that.
Yeah, I got my personal training, and then again, like the nutrition felt like, you know, it's like a natural next step, and then it just keeps going like that. So.
I love that. No, I love it. I mean, I can relate. So I totally get what you're talking about, right? I mean, yeah, I mean, I guess I could just kind of chip in. And so, yeah, I mean, I guess I have that similar experience in that sense. But when I actually decided to pivot into fitness, again, it was something that I never, ever imagined in my wildest dreams when I was younger, that this was where I would be, right? I mean, I grew up in an environment where it's like you become an engineer or a doctor or like a lawyer or something, something, right? You go to school and this is your life and you stay in that job, you make money and you retire and that's the end of your life or whatever the case may be. So, I mean, I grew up in that environment where, you know, being in fitness or owning anything fitness related. And some people still think that. They think that, you know, being in fitness, they don't think there's any value in it, which is not true. And otherwise I wouldn't have done it, or you wouldn't have done it, right?
Sure.
Anyhow, yeah. So when I got into it, I was in limbo in terms of work. Work was slow. So I would only go in when I had, you know, work or whatever the case may be. So I didn't really have like that consistent income at that moment. And, you know, it kind of got me to a place where, you know, I started feeling really awful about myself. And I thought there was something wrong with me. And, you know, you start kind of doubting yourself as a person. And you know, and I started like getting into like really, really bad habits. I ate a lot, we consumed, you know, a lot of beverages. I gained so much weight. I was just not a happy person, you know? And I remember like my husband, now boyfriend then, like he would go to work and he would leave me sleeping and I'll sleep until like noon. And then I'll wake up and I'm like, you know, and I'll be on my computer looking for work. And then eventually like, you know, binge on food or binge on whatever it is that would come my way. And it became a cycle, and I was getting trapped into that hamstring wheel of bad habits. I'm being honest. Like, I mean, I never really, really actually talked about the extent at which I was in a bad place. I was drinking way too much, consuming way too much alcohol or whatever the case may be. And I that wasn't the person I ever wanted to be. Never, ever, ever, ever wanted to be in that space. So he could see something was off, and he could tell that I was basically in that direction of depression, which and nobody ever diagnosed it, but I honestly think that's where I was at the time. People didn't know it because every time I wasn't around people, I was just always like, oh my God, everybody, I'm so happy. You know, like you hide behind everything else that's behind that. But people literally didn't, like my friends and, you know, my family members, when they listen to this, they're going to be shocked about this story because it's not something I'm proud of. It's not a place where I never want to talk about because I don't want anyone judging where I was at. By the way, you guys, this podcast is all about us telling the truth, just in case you're wondering.
But I mean, what a great story, because, you know, I think we do have a lot of fear around judgment, but also like there's a great opportunity for connection there where people can understand, I think, that place, you know, like I know I was diagnosed with depression at a very young age, and it was the same thing. I never talked about it. I just put on a happy face. But ultimately, I think a lot more of us have experienced that. And so for you to be able to share that, I think is amazing because
thank you. Yeah, no, I mean, I never talked. I mean, maybe a couple of my friends may know exactly how bad I was, but maybe I just never really talked about it. But anyway, that's besides the point. But anyway, he called me one day and he was like, what do you think about teaching spin or cycle? You're so into cycle, because I was trying to like get into the gym, trying to find things to do while I was, you know, in limbo in my life. And I would go to the gym and stuff. And, you know, I wasn't consistent, but he could see that I was starting to build that real passion for like getting back into it again. So that being said, I was like, okay, I'll give it a shot. Like, why not? So at that point, he was like, I'm signing you up for a fitness course. I was like, what? You want me to do what now? Excuse me, I beg your pardon. Right? And I was like, no, honey, I don't think that's going to work because I'm not there yet. And what are people going to think? Who's going to come to my class? I was like, super like not fit at all. I attempted to be, but I wasn't. And I don't know. I just, self-doubt. That's all it was. For sure. So anyway, I walked it. I was like, okay, I guess he signed me up. He paid for it. Like he literally said, oh, by the way, you're starting on this day, December. I can't remember I think it was December something of 2015.
Amazing.
It was a Friday. And I was like, oh my gosh, what is wrong with this dude? Right? And I was like, no. Anyway, so I did it. And I didn't die. I'm here. So that being said, long story short, I created my company Rhythm Fitness in 2017. Didn't know what I was doing with it. Fast forward later, we are here. And that's why we're talking about this today.
Yeah, good job.
It's a long story. So if I start talking, we're going to be here for like hours. So we won't bore you with the details.
We can always keep adding layers as well. So let's talk about our experiences working in gyms and facilities to now, the last like 7-8 months of being
let's do that
at home.
Yeah. So, I mean, I can totally, let's dive into it. Let's talk about the real deal.
Let's do it. So it sounds like you already had started your company at around the time that I was just figuring out how much I didn't value shoes more than my mental health. So, you started teaching spin then?
No. So, the spin thing was just like what drove what he suggested I should do. So what I ended up doing, so I did this course. So when you're doing AFLCA, so you start off with the group exercise fundamentals, and then you do the group exercise. Oh my gosh, there's two portions to it. Group something.
There's like exercise. There's exercise theory and group fitness.
That's right. There you go. So you do like a general group fitness thing, and then you specialize into cycle or choreography or portable equipment or whatever the case may be. So when I started that weekend, so I did that group fitness portion the first 2 days. And then on the Sunday was actual cycle, which was fun because I was like, oh my God, this is so cool. But during the group exercise, there was a lady that was facilitating the course, and she was like, her name was Lana. I can never say her last name. It starts with an A. Ashchak. I hope I'm saying it right. Lana, if you're listening to this, I'm so sorry. I just totally messed up your last name. But she is such an amazing, person. Like, she's so full of energy, and she's been in the industry for years. So she was like, Jackie, you're so good with choreography, and you have such awesome energy. Did you ever consider maybe doing like a choreography or something course, like get into actual group exercise, teaching group exercise? I was like, no, I got into this to teach spin. That's why I'm here. It's like, no, I can't do that. But I mean, she planted that seed in my head, right?
Yeah.
So I was like, after I was done the course and everything else, and I started getting into it, I actually worked so I decided, because I was like, I don't know anything about being in the fitness industry. So I thought the best way to do it is to work, in a gym. Right. So during my downside, when I didn't have work in my engineering, so I was like, okay, I think I was there for a few months actually. And I decided to apply for a job as spa lady then. And but I got hired on as a fitness consultant, which meant I needed to sell stuff.
Gotcha.
I came from an introverted profession to now apparently me having to like convince people to sign for memberships. Adrian, girl, if you had seen that girl back then doing that, no, girl. Honestly, I sucked. I'm such an empathetic person. So when somebody comes to me and tells me the story of why they can't sign up, I'm not that person to be like, oh, but I understand, but this is going to help you. How about you sign these papers? Girl, it was the hardest job I ever did. I was like, oh my God, how do they expect me to sell like 10 memberships a day? I can't do it. So anyway, it was a good experience.
Yeah, well, you got it.
Once in a while, I'll sell maybe one. Sometimes two. Until I realized it wasn't for me, and I was like, it was totally not what I imagined it would be. So I didn't really like that part. But eventually, I finished my AFLCA stuff, and then I started like mentoring at Sprout Lady, which was nice. Like everybody there was amazing, right? Like it was so awesome, and I got to learn a lot. Like, I mean,
and when I met you, you were like running to like 10 classes a day or something.
Oh yeah, girl. No, then I was like really seasoned. I was like not seasoned. What do you call that word when you're like so used to like teaching and you're pumped up? I literally would teach like 4 or 5 classes a day, totally different formats. Sometimes I'll walk in and I have no idea what I'm going to teach, and I just have to just fake it till you make it.
I think like one day I saw you and I was like, what are you? Or I was like, hey, what's up? And you were like, what class is this? What am I teaching? I was like, I think it's like a hit. And you were like, okay.
Just like, okay, let's do it. No, like that's how all over. Yeah, when we met, I think we met like what, a year and a half ago, 2 years now?
Somewhere around there.
Yeah. Yeah, a couple of years, I would say. It's 2021. Time flies.
Let's say like a year and a half-ish.
Yeah.
Maybe like 18 months.
Yeah. Yeah. Because I think I started at that place in summer of 2019, like teaching. Yes.
Oh, okay. Then yeah. So we would have met that summer. Yeah.
Yeah. So. Something like that. Yeah. So
and for everybody at home listening, basically how Jackie and I met was I was working at the front desk at this gym, and she walked into, I think you were subbing a class. And I was like, hey, how are you? Because I greet everybody walk through the door. And then if you can hear like the tone in mine, Jackie's voices, I was like, hey girl, what's going on? La, 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 la. And then we talked for like a half an hour.
True story.
And then we were just like, every time we saw each other, it was just like chirping away, and she had to go to class and I had things to do. And then we talk after class and we would just forever. And it was like, I gotta go. But every time we saw each other, it was like this burst of energy.
There'll be times when I walk in and I'm like, I just need like, because I think you're like one of the only people that would be up for chatting with me. And I'll walk in and I'm like, it's Adrian. Adrian was not there. Or sometimes when I was subbing like early mornings and I expected you for some reason to be there, and even though I know you work at nights, I'm like, where's Adrian?
Oh, that's so funny.
Girlfriend.
Yeah, it was like an instant chemistry. And then I remember we like officially, I feel like we officially bonded, or at least it like sticks out in my mind, of when you were asking about taking your personal training. Yes. Because I was studying at the time.
Yes. Yeah. And I was like, wait a minute, I signed up for that course, but I haven't started studying yet.
Yeah. And so like, and then you're kind of a planner. You like to plan things out and really think it through. And I'm very like chaotic. And basically, yeah, I was like, I want to do this. I want to be a trainer. And I think I made that decision in like October. And I was like, I want to do this right now. And so the ACE certification, they recommend like 4 to 6 months studying like 10 to 12 hours a week.
You powered through that with like what, 2 months or something like that?
Yeah, I was like, no, I want to start training people now. I know I have value to offer people. I want this immediately. So I studied 30 to 35 hours a week while working 2 almost full-time jobs so that I could get my certification in 6 weeks.
The best part was I would walk into this gym and you would have your books at your desk. And then it made me feel, I felt so bad because I'm like, I've only literally gone through 1 chapter in the last 2 weeks.
Well, and the gym was super cool, right? And they were like, yeah, as long as you're not neglecting your job, like you can totally study. And so I would have my books out. And so then that way, if there was ever a down moment or I didn't, you know, you have kind of your to-do list, and then I would circle my way back and I'd read something, I'd flashcards, and I was like, you know, I felt like I already had my yoga teacher training. And so like, I felt like I had this nice like background kind of getting me into it. And then being in the gym and like being around that environment and talking to teachers, I was ready. I was like, I'm not waiting for 6 months to do this. No. And so, yeah, I did it in just under 6 weeks. I gave myself like,
I think that's how we complement each other though, right? Because you're like, let's do it right now. And I'm like, wait, can we just take a moment to think about what we're doing?
So when we started collaborating, I was like, let's go immediately. And you're like, so there's these details we should probably consider. But it works out really well because sometimes I do well with friends who are quite like, or people in my life who are more grounded, because I am so fiery that like it can be a ball of chaos. And so like having people to be like, hey, let's slow it down a bit. And then at the same time, there is value. And sometimes being like, we're not overthinking this. It has to happen now.
Like yesterday. No, absolutely.
We're like, now.
Yeah. So tell me, like, Adrian, like, so obviously we all worked at the gym. We know it was chaotic for some of us. For some of us, it was amazing. I mean, it definitely had its ups and downs. But let's talk about actually working from home. Let's talk about the nitty gritty, because I'm sure this is why people are tuning in. They really want to know what the deal is. Tell me, how's it been? How long have you been doing this for?
So everything shut down at the end of March, beginning of April. And so I will not give money, like I won't go too far in this story, but basically I had already known that like my goal has always been to travel the world. I didn't get to do much of it. And so my plan going into being a personal trainer, I was like, okay, I need to figure out a way to reach a lot of people. I want to connect to people and like see the world and have this like freedom that I've never really had. And so I was already kind of like trying to figure out, how can I take this online? Like, I don't even know what that world looks like. And so when the pandemic hit and we were all forced to go inside, it was like, okay, like, what is the plan? Because, you know, when the gyms open back up, like, am I going to go back to working 16 hours a day? I worked at a kickboxing gym and then I worked as a personal trainer at the other gym. And like, I really loved the kickboxing aspect where I could it was literally just socializing all day long. I would talk to upwards to like 60 people in a shift, and it was just like bumping all the time. Awesome. And then I had my personal training, which was amazing because I liked to customize everything. But essentially the two of them together, it was just 14, 16 hours a day, 7 days a week. And so I was like, so I'd already like had it in the back of my mind. And so, when the pandemic hit, I took a couple months to just, you know, as I think we all needed to just be like, what is happening? But ultimately what happened was the gym started opening and they asked me to return. And it was like, I could feel it in my gut. And I was like, no, I don't, like, I can't do that. And so I had a couple clients online that I knew in person. I wasn't putting much effort into it, but I knew that I didn't want to go back to the gym where I was following somebody else's rules. I was having to sell things. You know what I mean? Like, there was no way that I could put myself into that role. I was restricted to like the clients they wanted. And so it just, when I had kind of had a taste of the online, and as soon as they offered me to come back, it was a clear no. And when you know,
could feel it, right? Yeah. When you know, you know.
Yeah. And so it was the end of June where I was like, I cannot return. And so I had a connection here in Calgary who had mentioned online training. So I reached out to him and was like, okay, I'm ready to like explore this world. And so the rest is history. So it's been since July, I signed up with a coaching mentor just to make sure I'm doing it right, delivering the best possible value to my clients, you know. But it's like I said, I would have sometimes like anywhere from 5 to 8 one-on-one clients a day. And then I would go work a 6-hour shift at the kickboxing gym. And so I was seeing, I'm not kidding, I was seeing no less than 100 people a day of like full on, full energy, full brain power, 7 a.m. until 9 p.m.
Yeah.
And now I don't think I've seen 100 people since July.
Fair enough.
and I talk to the phone. So it's definitely been an adjustment. And there's, I mean, the amazing piece of it to keep it on a light note is that there's so many things that you learn about yourself when you're alone.
Yeah.
And it's hard to talk to the phone when I can talk to 100 people in a day and feel energized. So like I am the definition
totally
of an
get that.
extrovert.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I have clients in Egypt, I have clients in the States, and like, these are just things that I could never have working in a gym for somebody else.
But Adrian, to be honest, you're not really by yourself, eh? You know that? What about Sebastian? I was gonna say, what about Sebastian, girl? Don't leave Sebastian out of here. You're hurting his feelings.
He's not even with me. No, and it's amazing because like I do spend a lot of time on the phone, and so it's just an interesting shift, right? And it's like I connect with people all day long, yet I don't. I'm on social media, yet I'm not. And it's such an interesting change.
I totally get that.
But again, like having that flexibility to work at home, ultimately what was, what I was looking for was how do you say that word? The anonymity, whatever. English is hard.
Oh my gosh. I don't even know what you're talking. Wait, I feel like
somebody in the audience will know, and they'll be like, Adrian, it's a simple word. But like that.
I can't even think of what you're talking about, but it doesn't matter. Okay. So like, girl, don't worry about it.
Where the gym had an ideal client and they had an ideal way of structuring programs, you know what I mean? And there was no space for me to reach who I wanted to reach or implement things or, and so, as hard as it has been to just talk to the phone sometimes and like, I can't hug anybody, but then I'm like, but I can do everything my way.
Virtual hug, honey. Virtual hug. This is why we do this.
But like to be able to reach people that I want to reach and connect with people that I know I can help has been, the most incredible experience.
No, I totally get that. I mean, there's so many things.
And you have a slightly different experience, which I think is so fantastic that we're like doing this because I just do one-on-one, like online coaching, whereas you just started launching your classes.
Yeah. So, I mean, the way I started was, I don't know if you remember seeing on social media back in, how like the gyms officially, everything basically was officially announced, I think March 13th, and it was a Friday. And I remember that was the last class I taught in person, and nobody really knew what was going on. I didn't really understand what was happening in terms of what this virus was. Like, I don't think anybody knew the extent at which this was serious, I suppose. We just thought, it's just the flu. Like, why are we all making a big deal out of it? right? At the time, like, nobody really knew what was happening. And I was like,
it was very confusing.
Right. And then, they said, we're going to be closed for 2 weeks. So we're like, okay, that's a nice little break. I'll take it. I didn't think anything of it. So March 13th, things closed down, and I think, the first few days, it was like honeymoon stage, you're doing whatever you want, you sleep in. I'm like, oh, my body has never felt so good. And then it come Wednesday, I was like, I need to move. I need to move my body.
Totally.
So I started working out by myself at home, and I was like, stewing on the idea of like, maybe doing free classes, because everybody was doing free classes. I don't know why in the world we would think of offering what we work out hard at, earn money to get these qualifications to offer things for free, but we did it. So everybody was offering free online classes. So I was like,
well, I think like you said, because we thought it would be 2 weeks, right? So it's like, how do we keep people healthy for 2 weeks
and entertained and whatever, right? Yeah, and keep people moving. So it was like, okay, you know what? I'm okay with that. So I started off, I can't remember what day it was. I started off just doing, I offered free Instagram and Facebook live classes. So I'd have like my iPad and my phone. I had all sorts of like gadgets that I own just to kind of record. I had no lighting. I didn't have professional lighting. I didn't have professional mic. I didn't have anything. But, you know, we just did it. And people would join in and work out and stuff. If you want to check out the classes that are all on my YouTube, I now load them up on YouTube. Some of them are on Facebook. So anyhow,
we'll link everything.
That's right. We'll link everything at the end. But yeah, like literally I did it for the first few days until somebody, actually a few people approached me. They were like, Jackie, why are you doing this for free?
Yeah.
And I'm like, what? I was like, what do you mean? Everybody's doing it.
Yeah. Sorry.
I was like, oh, well, I don't know, because I don't know who's going to pay for my classes. Literally,
totally.
In my head, it didn't even, like, I literally didn't, I don't know, like maybe that's where it comes in, where you undervalue yourself when you shouldn't be, kind of thing. And it was extremely wrong of me to do that. So, and then I started stewing on the idea, and I was like, oh, okay, well, that right though. I spend so much money on my qualifications every year. Like, if people don't know, fitness professionals, we have to keep up our certifications. As you know, Adrian, like you pay maybe about $500 to $1,000 a year, if given, depending on what it is that you're doing, to literally upgrade yourself every year. That is a lot of money when you're upgrading yourself every year. Engineering, you go to school for 4 years, sure, lots of money on tuition, but eventually, at least you're done paying for it. But with fitness,
well, and like we do believe, like in engineering, like your employer would like pay for your stamp if you're like doing whatever, right? Like there's somebody to help offset a lot of the costs. It was the same in any, right? There's always like a company that's willing to pay for it. But yeah, we're self-employed, and then
we're self-employed. We don't have vacation time. We don't have. I don't know. We don't have all these perks. So yeah, I started thinking about it, and I was like, girl, you're a smart girl. Like, why is that right? Why? I mean, but at the same time, for me, my giving side of things was like, but I feel like I don't want to feel like I'm taking advantage of people. Right. Like, you know what I mean? This was my thought process at the time. But in reality, I'm glad those people that said that to me planted that seed in my head. Because that's when I was like, I stewed on it. 10 days later, after doing the live classes, I'm like, that's it. We're going live privately.
So what's
and I just said, what's that?
Sorry, go ahead.
And I was like, well, this is the start of Zoom classes. So I created an account on Zoom. I researched it, and I know they have a free option, but I was like, wait, but I want my class to be about 45 minutes long. So, okay, I'll pay $20 a month. Okay, cool. Yeah. So, and I was like, okay, well, all I have is literally, I went and bought like a webcam that I'm using now, but now I have like more professional cameras, but like I went and bought like a cheap webcam off Amazon, and I used my headphones, and everything was good. I just didn't have lighting. So I remember like the first week or so, I didn't have lighting. And someone also said, Jackie, she gets some lighting. I was like, oh, I guess. I was like, I wonder how people always look so glam.
Right? Gotta have those lights.
Right? So I was like, okay, it's an investment. Got some lighting. Yeah. So everything that I've been doing ever since last March, so my express session started March 30th, I've never looked back. It was probably the best decision I ever made for myself, because for once, I didn't overthink it. I didn't overanalyze it. I literally jumped both feet in. I didn't know what I was doing. I still don't know what I'm doing sometimes, but I'm figuring it out. And that's all I can do. And so I have that. I got like a few challenges going. I got some online like clients that I'm working with now. So it's kind of nice. So I'm like building on, and you and I are working together. 2021 is going to be a fabulous year. You got to be optimistic, right, girl?
Right? Okay, right. So then, so we don't keep people on for too much longer.
Yeah.
What do you think is like the biggest change from going from in-person classes to at home? And like, you kind of mentioned like some good stuff, but what is like the thing you love? Like, what's the biggest change, and what do you love the most?
Okay. So the biggest thing that I love, Adrian, is working for me. Everything I'm doing, every decision I make, every breath I'm taking is to bring value to my clients in whatever the case may be. So I do things because I know I'll be okay with that decision, not because I'm making that decision for somebody else. There's something about working for yourself that is so rewarding. And I would never, ever, I won't trade it for anything. And I don't think I can ever go back.
Nice.
Yeah. And you tell me.
Yeah, it's pretty much the same thing. Yeah. I just, you know, knowing that I'm living in alignment with myself, who I'm able to help, having such a broad reach and being able to connect with people that I just would never be able to connect with on a gym floor. And
exactly.
then, working for myself, knowing that every client I take on is somebody that I genuinely feel I can help and that I can support on their journey. It's
absolutely
fantastic. Yeah.
And,
for sure.
and just having that global network, because I mean, we've lived in such a world where, you know, you had to do things in person or in an office and you're restricted to whatever it is. The pandemic literally allowed us to open ourselves to everywhere else. I don't even look at when I'm talking about my classes or talking about my programs or my services, I'm not talking to just people in Calgary anymore. I'm talking to everybody who's anywhere, India, Botswana, South Africa, Australia. Like I'm talking to everyone, right? And there's something gratifying knowing that we're a global community versus just.
And I think like something, you know, that outside of even just, you know, being online is that ultimately, if we want to achieve something, it's always possible if we're willing to like really push the envelope of what's possible, put in the work, you know, think outside that box and I think that proved that it's like people who were told they couldn't work at home are working at home. Businesses that ran only in-person training are running online solely, you know, and so it's like,
and the world didn't stop, right?
Right. And so like, just as a takeaway for any goal, regardless of like the industry or what, like it is possible to do anything we want, literally, as long as we can like bring in some actions. I think we've proven in 2020 that literally you can do anything. You just, you have to step outside that limiting box, put in the work and dare to dream big.
Yes. The world of abundance. You know how we've always talked about abundance? And no scarcity. Am I saying it right?
No scarcity. Yeah.
Yeah. Right. Like there's nothing that's limiting than having that mentality of competition.
Yes.
And I feel like for me, it's been something that I've been working on myself on. And it's probably the best thing I've ever done for myself is just eliminating that thought. Because if you look at the world as we're all in this together, there's something more freeing when you know that, okay, you're putting in all the work, you're going to connect with who you connect with. There's 6 billion plus people in this world. So we got this. What are the disadvantages? Tell me, what are your cons and stuff?
I was just going to say, I wrote it down while we're speaking, but we definitely will do another episode where I think we need to talk about the competition and scarcity aspect that floats around in the fitness industry. So in for another time.
You got it, girl.
As I said before, the thing I honestly struggle with the most is just the lack of in-person time, but that is not limited to my, I guess my job or my business, because I'm just a social human in general. So just, you know, we're so limited in our interactions that like even saying hi to people on the street has changed. And so that's my biggest struggle is, I love connecting with people from all over and talking in the phone, and in full transparency, because we're not, you know, blowing smoke in this podcast, it is tough because I do want to have an in-person conversation. Jackie and I have had some FaceTime wine. I would like to do that in person. Like these things are the most challenging aspect, where I would just really love the opportunity, not necessarily that I need it all the time, but knowing that it's an option and having that option not be available is definitely my biggest struggle.
I agree. I think that's probably one of my biggest things too, is like, I have my sweat sessions. I'm lucky enough that like I still have some form of interaction with my clients through our sweat sessions at noon. So we actually get to chat, just knowing that there's a human being on the other side of the screen, and there's something about that, and it makes me feel a little better. However, just being around people, like I definitely sometimes do miss like teaching group fitness classes like in person, and be like, you know what I mean, and you just have that vibe in the room, and you're like, keep going, and you're jumping around with them. It's just like so much fun. I miss that. Like, don't get me wrong, you guys, I love working for myself, but I do miss that in studio thing. It will come back eventually again. But so I mean, for sure,
like, if we were having like, I feel like, because there's so many people working from home, and like, I know people who are just super introverted, and their job is quite isolated. But I do know, like, even people in that sort of where they're okay with it are struggling with that lack of, they don't even have a coworker maybe to check in with. So like, it's just the reality of where we are. And I think we're all trying to put on a brave face and always talk about the positive, but it's good to acknowledge that, like, yeah, sometimes it just sucks. And sometimes you just want in person. It doesn't devalue how much you love your job or the current situation. It's just, man, it would be nice to walk by somebody on the sidewalk and not have to walk like 10 feet apart.
Exactly. And that's another thing too, is like, and mental health has been a big thing, this past year. And, unfortunately, this is not even close to being over. So we don't know how long we're going to be indoors or, isolated from other people. So it's so important for us to almost, when you're feeling those feelings, don't be afraid to feel them, and don't be afraid to reach out to a family member over the phone, FaceTime, or even just a simple phone call, just so that, you have somebody to chat with. Or if you don't want to talk to anybody that reach out to us. Adrian and I always are for conversations with anybody.
We will talk to anyone. And Jackie,
we'll talk your ear off.
And Jackie and I each run private Facebook communities that are just full of supportive people. So there's always that option as well. We'll post everything in like the show notes at the end. So, and we both offer something just slightly different, which I think is great in our Facebook communities. So there's something for everyone. So if you're feeling like you need that piece of community, we're there. We're there in every aspect.
In every aspect, exactly. I think we covered pretty much everything for the most part. But I mean, there is just so much to talk about in terms of working from home. There's probably a lot of things that we've probably skipped through, but I guess the takeaway of this episode is for us just talking about how from the busy lives we had to the full lives we have.
Right. Yes.
Right. Yes. Do you like the tone of that? Busy life we had to the full life.
I think for me, the biggest takeaway for this episode is exactly that, is that there is a difference between being busy and being full. And while, there was fun aspects to running around all crazy and doing things, now it's more intentional. We're reaching people more purposefully, and it's full. It's not busy. And that feels hella good.
That's right. No, I agree. The running around, that's the part that I don't miss. And anyway, we'll talk about the running around and busy lives in another episode, because we can go on for days with that one, girl.
Jackie and I can talk for hours, so we will try to keep it under an hour per episode.
Right? You just never know what you're gonna get. Some episodes might run a little longer, but for the introduction, we don't want to scare you guys off. All right. All right, you guys. Thank you so much for joining us here today, you guys. Hope you guys enjoyed this episode. And don't hesitate to reach out to us if you guys have any questions. We're going to leave all the information at the bottom of this episode. And please don't hesitate to leave us any reviews, comments. I would love to hear from you. Let us know what you want to want us to talk about. And if you're a professional and an expert in something, reach out to us. We want experts on our show. Okay.
Yeah. So yeah, our goal is to just keep it real. We don't have a specific topic. We're not limiting ourselves to fitness and all that. We want to just bring real talk to everybody. So we'll have experts come on, we'll have real conversations like this, but we're also going to do like a wine chat where we talk about maybe a bit more risque things. And really, honestly, our theme and our intention is to show up as ourselves and keep it super real, and maybe even talk about the things that people aren't talking about, because
that's right, Adrienne. You know, push the envelope just a little bit.
I mean, that's pretty much where I live all of the time. So,
well, you have a more exciting life than I do, that girl.
Oh, no. All right, friends. Thank you so much for everybody tuning in. This was amazing. I'm so excited that, to be able to collaborate with Jackie and put this out into the world. And that, as Jackie said, if you have any like comments or if you have a takeaway or something resonated with you, love to hear from you. And we're going to be posting our podcast every Tuesday morning. So keep a lookout for it. Yeah.
Awesome. Thank you so much, you guys. And we'll see you guys next week. All right.
Bye.
Bye, guys. Have a good one.